Hey guys, this is Shauna O'Donnell, and you're listening to Mew and Talk. We have Greg Hampton, the vocalist of the thenewczars, on the phone. Hi Greg, thanks for talking with me. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm having my third cup of coffee, so mentally my faculties are sort of coming together, but I'm getting ready to. We're working on a couple of new song ideas for a different project in the next 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, very cool.
Kind of getting mentally prepared for that.
Okay, cool. I'm on my second cup. I know, it's so early, huh?
Well, I'm normally up really early. I'm an early riser normally by nature because I don't party or anything, but I was
Right.
up. Actually, I was exercising and doing the treadmill and working out someplace last night, and I was just kind of spent, and I feel guilty if I get up too late because I feel like I'm missing out.
I'm the same way. Besides that, I'm a day person. Like, I like the sun and stuff, so that's just the way I am.
Well, I'm a day and night person. I normally don't sleep much, but it kind of caught up to me. I guess the old saying, you'll sleep when you're dead.
That's right. All right, well, I'd like to get to know the band a little bit, so let's begin with that.
Okay.
All of the members have worked with notable bands and or artists in the past. Tell us how the band came together and, like, who each member has played with and a little history.
Well, the way it all happened, I was writing, I was in the middle of working with Lita Ford, and I had just finished that Alice Cooper record, Along Came a Spider, that I produced and had written. The next thing was into Lita Ford, and I over the course of those records, I was working on, I would always write new ideas, and things would just inevitably just kind of come flying out of me, and ultimately there's sort of a little body of material that started to, I was compiling this little folder of all these cool riffs, but they didn't fit the Alice's or Lita Ford or any of those types of artists.
Gotcha.
And so I started sort of putting them aside, and Paul Ill I had run into at NAMM, 2009, I guess it was, and I was still in the middle of that record, but I had a really nice little stockpile of these other riffs that were coming together, and I had met with the owner of Samson, my friend, and we'd gone and seen Danny Carey's Volto, which is his side project. It's a real quirky, sort of progressive, jazzy sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And we started talking about it, and that was when he said, "Hey, would you like to make a record?" And I said, "Yeah, I've got a whole batch of these other songs that are coming together that don't fit any of those sort of regular sort of artists." And so that was basically that. I had asked Paul when I had seen him, and Paul had been working, with Pink and Christina Aguilera and Alicia Keys, and he's an amazing bass player that can just kill the rock bass stuff. And he really, with regards to that, it's a big, night and day sort of difference. So it was something that he could really stretch out. And he also is a huge music fan, so he knows, every imaginable record ever put out, too. And Dave Chili Moreno, I had met through my friend Roy Z. They played together in Tribe of Gypsies, and Roy had used him on the Bruce Dickinson, some of the Bruce Dickinson solo stuff. So subsequently, he and I had a bunch of mutual friends as well. And I'd had him play on a couple things and help out on a couple things on the Lita Ford record. Mm-hmm. But it was just, it just kind of made sense. And the more I had heard some of his other music, the ideas that were coming together were definitely not some 4/4 thing. They were really odd time signatures, a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And there was something that I thought that would be beneficial with regards to the way he approaches certain things with his Latin feels and some of his background and metal as well. So combining those other hybrid elements of his genetic makeup was really cool. So Paul, like I said, was the first guy because he and I had worked together back in the early 2000s. That's when we met. I think 2001 or 2002. The Reeves Gabrels, who was with Bowie, and we still stayed friends. We had a lot of other mutual friends, so it was always good when I would see Paul. So it was just sort of organically came together. Originally, it was starting out sort of as just a solo record sort of thing, mm-hmm. And because the last little thing that I had worked was in sort of a band configuration was with myself, Bootsy Collins, and Buckethead. A thing called Science Faction that was a bit confusing, I think, to some of the fans or some of those particular art. I mean, Bootsy and Buckethead, respectively, within their own fan base, they were not, I don't think, ready for, or they didn't want some of the things that we had done on that record. It was definitely an ambitious undertaking, but regardless. So, you know, I have been very fortunate with my day job with, you know, the Science Faction, the Alice Coopers and the Lita Fords, and the, you know, a lot of the bands that I've worked with over the course of my, you know, producing career.
Well, Science Faction, is that a band that you're in, or is that a band you produced?
That was sort of a one-off band that we had done back in 2006, 2007.
Oh, okay.
That was Bootsy Collins, myself, Buckethead, Brain, who was also with in Primus, played some on that. We had a big quite a cast of characters. Bootsy's brother, Catfish, who just passed away, was on it some. Very funny cat. We had Bernie Worrell also from Funkadelic, played some keyboards. There's a few other people that you would probably recognize that were involved in that record.
How cool.
Yeah.
How cool. Good times.
Yeah, it was definitely had its moments. Cincinnati, I will say, is a really cold place in November. So we all went back and forth between there and my place and the studio that Buckethead works out of.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the only part of it, because everybody's spread out so much.
Okay, well, now you were set to release your debut album titled Doomsday Revolution on September 14th. So I'm just kind of curious. Now, did you single-handedly write all of the album, or did the others collaborate with you?
I had a few little collaborations on a few songs. We cut 25 masters all together.
Right.
And there were 16 songs on the record, so there's going to be some bonus tracks and all that. But like I said, there's a few things. I think there's three tracks that Paul has contributions on.
Okay.
And then Adrian Ballou I brought in to play some guitar bits, and he also has some writing contributions on 3 things, I think, as well. I think some of the same ones with Paul. So it was all primarily me. Like I said, it really started off as a Greg Hampton solo record, if you will.
Right.
And then it just sort of, I brought the other guys in, and they would contribute some writing ideas, and I'd written all the lyrics here and all the other, and of course all the vocals. And so Adrian Ballou sang some harmony vocals with me on, what was it, Why Do You Have to Lie, and another track called Tell Me.
Gotcha.
But that was the only thing there was really any other singers on that I can recollect.
And plus he played 6-string, so...
Yeah, he played guitar and his own unique interpretation on quite a few songs. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was cool, though. I enjoyed it. I've always been a huge fan of his work.
Very cool. Now, you did cut 25 songs, and so did you write those over a course of a lot of years, or was that just something like in just a couple, like the recent years?
Mainly over the last couple years. There's a few, like we cut maybe 10 instrumentals, 9 or 10 instrumentals, I think, altogether as well. And some of those were over the course of maybe 4 years.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, I have a backlog of material, another 18 or 20 songs, this other thing that's more of a sort of a rootsy blues rock sort of thing that I'd been working on, which out of that batch, I nicked Only Dreaming. There's a ballad at the end of the record. Mm-hmm. And I pulled that in off of that. My friend Billy Bob Thornton had been really encouraging me to get, he loved that track, and Lita Ford's husband, Jim Gillette, would also say the same thing. They were like, you know, Jim would just say, "Man, that's such an amazing song. You gotta do that." And I was like, "Well, I don't know if it fits." And you know, anyway, regardless, I think I sort of retooled it and approached the melody a little differently, and I think it turned out to be pretty cool.
Very cool. Now, it sounds to me like, though, that you already have enough songs for another record already.
Yeah, I mean, I have, you know, some stuff that I've just been working on in the last couple of weeks. Maybe another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got another 12 or 13 brand new ones. Besides, there's another 17 or 18 that are set aside.
Wow.
But they're not necessarily, they're definitely way more organic. They're sort of more Hendrixy, sort of blues rock, psychedelic sort of thing. Not as progressive with not as much of the industrial thing.
Gotcha.
And I'm not sure where that's going to go, or what that's going to end up being, or if it's going to be a new Czars thing, or if it's going to be, if I start working with somebody else that's maybe, my friend Warren Haynes and I are co-producing this Tommy Bolin tribute right now with all these great guitar players guesting, playing with the multi-tracks.
Cool.
So, it's real cool. I mean, I'm really digging it, and there's some really major guys. I mean, I had, this guy Nels Klein from Wilco was really one of the most fun sessions I've had in years, recording him. And Brad Whitford from Aerosmith was a real blast. We did that back east, and
that is cool.
Yeah, it was really great. So, so that's something that I've sort of, like I said, I've had a body of material that I've had set aside that I'd started originally. Almost a whole album had come together in January 2009, and I just, they didn't, those songs didn't fit with what I had, this little folder of the progressive things. And again, those didn't fit with the Lita Fords or the Alice Coopers,
right,
or, some of that other weird stuff. I mean, weird stuff fits with Alice Cooper, but not musically. It can't be like an 11 and all these weird time changes. It's not really, he is bad.
Alice is so cool. He really is.
Yeah, he's a character.
Definitely. Well, you sound like you're a lot of fun to work with, though, so I bet it's great being at your studio.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I guess they say I make a really great first impression on people, but it really goes downhill after that. So I don't know. I'm going to plead the fifth.
Well, you have a really successful production company called Greycampton Productions, and I was just kind of curious. I mean, if you decide to take this, out on tour, what will happen with the production company? Will you just, not do it for 6 months? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there would be, in this day and age, with everybody logistically, there would be